Okay, so today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on the new things in the new version of Premiere that just released 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. Sync settings and CC files. Okay, so let's make a. What we're going to do is make a new project, and I'm going to show you. There's a new tab here, ingest settings. So I'm going to go put this project where I want to put it. We'll pick one of my smaller weddings, Sydney and Drake. We're going to call it Sydney and Drake. Sydney Drake. Now, under the new project settings, right when you start it, you can always come back to the project settings later and do this before you bring the stuff in, but now it has ingest settings. What I didn't like about using Adobe Prelude when doing ingesting is you had to, it was like a odd thing where you had to click and bring it in, and I was hoping that it wasn't doing the same thing in Premiere. You couldn't just like drag the folders over. It wasn't as easy. So my workflow is that I drag my folders over. I'll show you here in just a second. But what the cool thing is about this ingest settings is it still works with my current workflow. So I don't have to change the way I work to do this, which is awesome. So you click ingest, you can just copy, same folder as the project file, copy with MD5 verification. So what you do is you can just go create proxies, copy and create proxies. So if I pick create proxies in the same folder as the project file, preset used, and then there's presets here. You can lower it down to 1024 by 440, GoPro Cineform, 1020 540, H.264. You can make it a little bit bigger, like HD, but not quite high enough. So if you pick the smallest one, which would be smart if you're going to do proxies anyway, you may as well make them small, right? And you can also make a new preset, a new ingest preset. If you're going to do proxies anyway, it's going to retranscode all your footage. So if you have 4K and HD footage, it's going to retranscode it down to this size for editing. And it does it in the background on the fly, which is really cool. So if I pick this one, the smallest one, and click OK, now it creates the project, and we're ready to go here. Let me open my folder. Oh, I've got my double thing. Let me go to my window workspace and change it to single. Okay, so this is the way I normally do my project. I use the multi-monitor Deadpool preset, which is kind of cool. It puts them on both monitors, but you can't see both monitors here when I'm editing. So when I'm recording video, so let's do this. Now I'm going to show you how to do when I do my ingesting media. I'm going to bring it up into a different. Okay, so in my PC internal RAID, I've got projects. I go to the project where Sydney Drake. There's the project that it just created. I go to footage. Now I've got audio, drone, shot on a 4K drone, Nikon, footage from Nikon cameras, and a Sony, which is 4K footage. So if I hold shift and highlight all these, I can drag this directly into the project like this. When I do, what happens is importing files. We're going to go look at this. What it does is down here in the bottom you'll see Adobe Media Encoder will launch. So the benefit here is you can actually edit all this footage directly on a small laptop or even on like a Surface Pro. You get like a Microsoft Surface Pro. You can set the project up on the portable drive on your desktop PC. Use the proxies and then just transfer that drive to your portable device, laptop, whatever. And since it's using the proxies, it can edit it just fine. So you can plug it in, launch the project on the Surface Pro, and boom, it'll be using the proxies. And then when you come back to the desktop, or even if you decide to render, you can render the original files. So it'll automatically swap those files back over to the original 4K files, and boom, back on the timeline, and back editing or exporting the actual high quality files. So you don't technically need a super powerful graphics card. It's good to have one, but you don't technically you don't need one. You can do it with a regular onboard graphics with Intel HD graphics or whatever. So it didn't import the XML files that are made with the Sony. So if you look down here at the bottom, see that? Adobe Media Encoder launched in the background. Also Adobe Media Encoder. So you see, it's going to put ingest. It's going to line up all the files that it got, everything that's in here. It's bringing them all in here, and it's automatically starts encoding them. Also, notice they move this stuff around in Adobe Media Encoder. This used to be on the left. There was no media browser in here. This encoding window was on the left. They moved it around, and I believe they did this to make it more like Premiere. So it's like you have a media browser. The preset browser would be like your filters in Premiere, and then your queue, the stuff that you have going on, and then your encoding windows on the bottom. They move the stuff around here. So it's basically going to be encoding in the background. So it's conforming the files and it's encoding. So for my project, what I normally do is I click a little drop down, I double click, and I go up Sony and I drag this up to the top and I change it to the picture so I can see it. So then the next one, I'll go double click the Nikon, click the little thing, drag it up here to the top, right here. Not here, not there. Oops. Right there. Nikon, Sony, I drug it too low. Drone footage, double click, highlight it, drag it up here to the top. This technically is drone footage, but it's also handheld gimbal from the drone. So I use the drone gimbal thing. And then audio, I don't need, audio's right here. So I don't really need I don't need a separate bin to show the audio. So now if I create a sequence, no matter what, if I go File, New, Sequence, and let's call it Ceremony, it's automatically coming back up on Array, so I got to go back here. We're not doing Array, we're going DSLR, because most of my footage was DSLR, digital SLR, 1080p, 24, boom, Ceremony, boom. 1080p Ceremony footage. So now if I go to the Sony, let's find out where the ceremony was. This was after the ceremony, I think. You can start, as you can see, you can start editing like right away. Okay, here's the ceremony. So I just drag this down here. Keep existing settings. It's automatically going to resize my footage because I have scale the frame size already set. And you can see it's not doing the waveform, but I can hear it. So, and then we'll go to Nikon, as many people call it. Nikon footage. Got them playing guitar and stuff. No, this is them outside. Doing some shots. Okay, this looks like that's their first look. Okay, there it is. So, boom, put it on here. Now notice the audio, they actually made them much smaller. Look how small they made it. You can scroll it and make it bigger. But look how small. It fits in the thing much better. That's awesome. So you can still see the waveform, and it's tiny. So I always had a problem where I'd have to, move this stuff back and forth, up and down, and make it work. Always a pain. Never very good. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it continue doing. I'm going to speed this up and let it do all these proxies first, because it's only halfway done, and it's still on the drone shots. So I still have a ways to go before it even gets done. So I'm going to let this render and come back. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's see what we found out here. I had to break for a little bit and go back off and change my you don't really need it to
Relatively easy.
lower the resolution. I can go full on these now, because what it is to get these things to play back the proxies, I've actually got it set. Here's a button, toggle proxies. So you notice the screen actually went full wide. If I click it, see how it's going in, coming back. This is actually the smaller size. That's the full size, the full res proxies. So this is proxies here. How you get that button there? That button's normally not there. So I'll do it on the playback monitor over here. If you click this little thing here, see that little button right there, toggle proxies, drag it down to here, and now you've got the toggle proxies button. Click OK. So now you have toggle proxies. You can turn it off on either monitor, and it does it for both of them. So if it's turned on and I go to the bin, say drone, and I double click, this is actually going to be, oh, that's what it was just on. All right, let's go to this one here. This is actually going to be the proxy file. This is a 4K footage off of the drone camera, but see, it's in full. This is would normally be harder to play. So if I go back on this, the beginning, and I uncheck this, now it's going to play the full one, and it might get a little bit jerkier, start using the processor a whole lot more. Now what it does with these files, I went and looked and found out where it put them. What it does is, we'll go back, I'll show you the project. Here's the project here. These are the proxy files. Here's the original files here. They're under here. And see, these are just MOV files and MP4 files from the drone. See, MP4. These are the full res files. But inside the main project, it created all these proxies. What I find kind of interesting is, these are the proxies that created for all the files that are in the project. All the files are there. There's 180 files, 175, 165 files. If I right click these and choose properties, it's 50.2 gigs. But if I go back to the actual footage, and even including the audio and the pictures that aren't included in the proxies, if I click footage and I click properties, it's 28.9 gigs. So these are actually larger, even though they're lower res, they're larger than the original files because they're less compressed. That's why. So if you go to project settings, file, project settings, over here you'll see general, scratch disk, and ingest settings. So you can go to the ingest settings, and that's where you get to the same tab right here, add ingest preset, and you can change this to, you know, something even smaller or whatever if you want. So basically that's where it saved the files back to the thing. Makes it edit faster if you're on a laptop, because if you're on something a little bit slower, not quite as fast, it's not going to be as good. Then you've got this little button you can click, boom, now it plays a lot less compression, and it fits in there better. So you can basically go back and forth. Now what I found is, anytime you render, you export, if you go to file, export media, even though I'm in the proxy thing, it'll automatically bring in the original. So see, if you look, see the scene, see the black bars, and how this is kind of like compressed in. This one's not as compressed in, and there's no black bars because it's using the original files. So no matter what, I can use my original files directly in the export. It always uses the original files in the export. So that's basically one of the main things that they added to Premiere in this latest update. And that's how you get to it. You can also get to it if you're in Media Browser. If you go to Media Browser and you're going to browse them there, you see the little ingest thing is checked. Ingest. You can uncheck it or check it. And then this little wrench here, you click that, brings you right to the ingest settings. Same thing as before. So if you drag, if you're using like mobile media, say you're editing stuff from an SD card on the fly and you want to transfer it to the external hard drive, under these ingest settings you might want to pick, instead of create proxies, copy and create proxies. So you do it from there, and then you would insert your SD card. Oops. You'd insert your SD card and then copy the project over, copy the files into the project over directly to the external, you know, and directly to your SSD or to your media. and it will create the proxies at the same time in the project folder. So that's how that works.